So, how many of you have heard about this hen and pig story? Okay, can you please tell me?
It typically talks about team members.
Do you have one? Here, yes. Thank you so much.
Hi, good morning. So this story typically talks about team and the members in the team.
Okay.
So it defines, which team members are committed to the project and which team members are involved.
Exactly. Okay.
Right. I mean, it talks about the relation between the team and the stakeholders.
Absolutely. Okay. Wonderful.
So if hen here, it would be involved. So I mean, the hen has here, the direct or indirect impact due to the project, and the pig is going to be completely committed to the project, and pig is the one who is going to deliver or develop the product.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you all agree. So here, when we are talking about the pig and hen story, basically we are talking about Scrum has got three roles. We have like a product owner, Scrum master, and the development team. And when we are talking about this story, like you stated, it's more about commitment and involvement. So who is totally committed to what he should be doing, and who is like involved in the project, like sharing, doing the work together. So here we are talking about the hen as a Scrum Master role, and pig as a product owner. So let's not get into too much technicalities on that. So how to we? So like I said, one is commitment. So once you are committed, there is no returning. There is no like either you do it or you don't. There is no in between. You stay committed to what you have told. So involvement, other is you are sharing your ideas and collaborative working. So that's what he told about the story. Let's come to this. So today we'll be talking about all these factors of Scrum, like how Scrum originated, what is Agile Manifesto, how Scrum originated, the Scrum history, its principles and practices, and Scrum ceremonies, the artifacts, time boxes, and in the last, we'll be talking about the challenges, what we face in the Scrum projects and how we get about handling those challenges. So when there is a transformation project from traditional waterfall to Scrum, it's not easy. There is active and passive resistance. And there are too many hurdles to it. Because people get used to one thing and getting on to something new, it's difficult for them. So they find it it's difficult to adopt. Even if our body, if you have to put something, some external metal or anything when there is a fracture or something, so our body does not easily adapt to that. It takes time. So same is with this Scrum. When you're doing a transformation from the waterfall model to the agile model, there are a lot of pitfalls that we need to address and make it a success. So which we'll be discussing in the coming up slides. So Scrum is one of the, it is a subset of Agile methodology. So Agile Manifesto, when we talk, like we know, 17 people, 17 software professionals got together in a ski resort in Utah, and they formulated a set of rules, like four core values and 12 principles to enhance the software process that's already existing. And and Scrum is like, it has got many, Agile has got many subsets. And Scrum is just one of the subset of Agile methodology. So why do we call it as a lightweight process? Even from here, why Scrum called a lightweight process?
Because you don't rely more on documentation.
Exactly, we don't rely more on documentation. So what do we mean by lightweight process? Lightweight process, we mean it's adaptable to changes, upcoming changes. And so that's what we mean by lightweight process, and simple to understand. Why are we saying it's difficult to master? Why are we saying that? Anyone of you? Why Scrum? How many of you are well acquainted with Scrum? They are using Scrum in your organization. Excellent. Can you please tell me why is it difficult to master?
Difficulty comes in maybe I think with respect to adoption. Like I think we have been using waterfall and other models. I think the mindset change is very difficult. Like adopting a new is what I think. Scrum Master is.
Absolutely, the mindset change is difficult. Once you get used to the process that you are already been following for n number of years, to adapt to something new, it's difficult. It's always difficult. So though it's easy, once you are acquainted with that, once the transformation happens, once you get into the change management, then you find it easy. Okay, I want to do this, I find it difficult, but now I'm used to it. I find it easier, let me do it. So that's what we are talking about over here. So Scrum is used like in worldwide now. Everywhere you go, the people speak about agility, people speak about agile projects, people talk about Scrum principles, practices. You know, it's used worldwide. So let's get on to today. We'll be discussing about the roles, time boxes. In Scrum, it never changes. The roles and time boxes never change. That's one of the important aspects of Scrum. So how did Scrum originate? So anyone of you?
From rugby.
Rugby game. So why rugby? There are so many games in the world. Why rugby alone? So why did this particular game came into existence? Why did why did this game? Why this game? So what is Scrum? Basically, when we are talking about Scrum, it's so everywhere it's used. What does Scrum mean? Any of you? Somebody?
Dynamic changes.
Pardon me?
Dynamic changes.
Dynamic changes. Okay, we have frequent changes coming in from the customers. Scrum welcomes changes. So so that's one of the main aspects of this. But why? Let's discuss this. So what is this? Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber conceived. Who was Jeff Sutherland? So does somebody know about him?
He is the one who did the research and brought this concept of Scrum.
He was in US Air Force before. So he used to fly fighter planes, and then later on decided, okay, let me do something new. And then he and Ken Schwaber, he was a developer. Ken was a developer basically. So he was born in 1945. I mean, if you imagine, I don't know what he will be doing in those ages. So they got together in 90s and they codified Scrum. So why did they? It's not origin by Jeff or Ken. So Scrum came into, like you said, in 1986. So we have a name, Takaichi and Nonaka. So these two great management thinkers, they coined the term Scrum, which was used by Ken and Schwaber. So they thought, they had come with a thought process. They correlated this Scrum with rugby game. They said, okay, we have small teams. Bear with me. They said we have got small teams and small collaborative teams, and they have shared goals. If you think of rugby game, they see only the ball. They see only the goal. Okay, what we need to, it's a shared goal. So back and forth, they start playing. So that's what they compared. So with the term Scrum, they came of rugby to stress the importance of teams. Like he said, it's more onto team involvement. So that is the correlation with the Scrum and the rugby game. That's what they said between the rugby and being successful in the game of the new product development. So later on in 2001, so Ken Schwaber co-authored the first book on Scrum with Mike Beadle, Agile Software Development in Scrum. So Ken founded the Scrum Alliance. So we have, I mean, you all might have heard of Scrum Alliance. He is the chairman of Scrum. He chairs the Scrum Alliance group, and then followed by Mike Cohen. So this is about the origination of Scrum. So what do we have? Large complex projects. So what are the main drawbacks of large complex projects? How many of you are involved in big projects, complex ones, and are working on Scrum? Yeah, can you please tell me?
Frequently changing requirements, prioritization,
Okay.
too many stakeholders.
Okay, let's go one by one. He's saying your name, I didn't get.
My name is Vijay.
Vijay. Vijay says frequently upcoming changes. So how do we handle it in Scrum? Anybody from Scrum over here? Okay, how do you handle it in your organization? Sprints. Very good. Anybody else? So you have short sprints, 2 to 4 week short sprints. 2 week sprints, mostly it's like 2 week sprints. So by which you handle this. So what happens with waterfall? Large projects, how do you handle in waterfall? Somebody using waterfall over here? Pardon me?
Change request.
Oh, okay, change request. Who is the one? I'm not able to see. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So in large complex projects, the main drawback is unorganized teams. So no clarity of goals. There is no sync. Communication does not happen as it has to happen. So there is no sync between the project stakeholders. So when there is no clarity of goals, you are lost. The team is lost. It doesn't have a vision. There is no vision for the team. The team does not know where it's heading to. Okay, this is the product I'm going to develop. So what I need to do, what are the steps involved in the product development? What I need to do to achieve that? So if you do not have a vision, if you do not have a goal, how do you go about it? So in larger projects, you have unorganized teams, no clarity of goals, ambiguous situations. So that's where the Scrum pitches in. So that's where Scrum comes as a big blessing. It not only saves on the cost, but it also helps you on the time factor. It's more transparent, it welcomes changes and fast results. So why more transparent? Who is from Scrum here, you said? Why transparency?
You know what is in the sprint backlog, so you know what you have to deliver at the 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Just one look at the task board. Everybody can say, what is the WIP? What needs to be done? What was done? And what do we need to do? Who is doing it? How do we achieve it? So everything is transparent to all the members of the project, all the stakeholders. So with transparency, we know where we are heading and we have clarity of goals. We know where we are, what we are doing and where we are heading to. Traditional waterfall model versus Scrum framework. So waterfall model, we have analysis, design, development, testing, deployment. Let's see the advantages and disadvantages. Who was talking about short sprint cycles? Somebody? You? Okay. So how does short sprint cycles help in welcoming changes?
Speed speed to adapt to customer changes. So whenever there is a change, customer needs to wait only for a couple of weeks. So we can adapt to the changes. Speed and the release will be speed. That means the speed to the market will be the advantage of customers.
Oh, okay. So it's saying the speed. Anybody else?
Feedbacks. Regular feedbacks.
Absolutely. Speed is one factor. Regular feedback. So you get the feedback then and there. You don't have to wait till the end of it and go through a large process and for approvals. If you take the waterfall methodology, you have there is a big process. You have a change control board, and then there is a process set up. You have to get approvals from the senior manager, from the change control board. Then you have to revisit your project management plan. Scope has to be changed. So it's a cumbersome process. It requires a lot of time. Whereas if you are talking about Scrum, it's like you are clarifying the doubts then and there. You have a direct interaction with the customer. So the changes are done then and there. And because it's short sprint cycles, it's not cumbersome. You don't have to do a lot of replanning or revisiting or anything. So it's faster, like what he said, it's faster and quick feedbacks. So
And here the product backlog is also evolving.
absolutely,
And-
wonderful.
And the main problem in the waterfalls, you cannot foresee the entire end product. What are the stages? Here you are evolving. One is sprint you are going, maybe further updating your product backlog, and then you're going through. So you're evolving and you are more and more delivering incrementally, frequently.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a confidence building up with the customer.
Absolutely. So we win customers' trust by adopting to Scrum, whereas waterfall is cumbersome. So unless you go till the last phase by phase and come up with it, you don't know where you are heading to on par with the project progress. So waterfall is moreover like a phase based. It's different phases, and if there is a change, you have to go, only at the final stage. You have to do a replanning, you have to come to the further back up to the other phases and do the work, and then again come on to the last phase of the project. Whereas in Scrum, it is cross-functional, self-organizing team. So you don't have to dedicate work to the team. There is no concept of project manager here. The team has got the expertise. The team knows what it is doing. Okay, A has got this expertise, B entity has got this expertise, C has got this expertise, and we know what we are working on, where we have to do. In this sprint, what is our goal, and how are we going to work on that? What are the PDIs we need to work, and what is our shared goal? What is the delivery we have to do by this sprint, by the end of this sprint? So everything is done in a very planned way. So teams are self-organizing, cross-functional. It's a very big benefit. It's a very big benefit for the organization in increasing their ROI. So Scrum comes, yes?
I'm not clear about you are saying very planned way, and then you are susceptible for the changes, frequent changes. How
Okay.
does it marry together? If there is a frequent changes, there is no planning.
No. When I'm talking about, absolutely right, I have to go by you. You're talking about frequent changes and planning. So planning with frequent changes is when you are coming up with a planning, we have a definite organizational change management system in place. Suppose if we are building a aircraft part, we are working, it's just an example I'm giving you. We are working on a NASA project and we are building a part of that aircraft. So what we do on management, what is the basis of management? Planning is the basis of management. So even if you take the waterfall methodology, what does we do in the planning stage or initiation stage? Planning stage, we say, okay, we do a contingency plan, right or wrong? We do a contingency plan. We have a definite organizational change management process to address the changes. Okay, these are the changes I'm expecting. So how am I going to address this change? So I have some processes set in place to address this change. So when you are talking about Scrum, we have a definite process there. So that is what we are talking. We have a definite process, change management process, which we follow, which we'll be talking about in the coming slides. So you are right, it's a faster feedback and more transparency and visibility. We have task boards, we have velocity charts, we have burn down charts, so we have more visibility. Anytime the project stakeholders can come, they can just have a look, they will know where we are heading to, what are the roadblocks and which is important, which is not important, who is working on the task. So that's what is a major advantage. Unlike waterfall model, which involves a lot of documentation. So easily adaptable to changes. So why is it easily adaptable to changes? Anyone of you? Yes?
You are planning your project only for short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And if there are any new changes, you can easily implement in the next sprint or next sprint.
Absolutely. So easily adaptable to changes, and changes cannot be easily accommodated. I think it's your name.
Yes.
Yeah. Like stated before, when you are talking about waterfall model, changes are not easily accommodated. It requires a lot of documentation. Then it has to go through different phases, and there is a lot of approval process in that. And you know the results only at the end of it. So it is quite cumbersome with the Scrum. So when the teams are self-organizing, results are quick, and they are cross-functional. So what happens when the results are quick? When it is cost-cutting. So you do the work with, like, suppose you have for waterfall methodology, you take like 6 months. Same work with Scrum, you are able to do it in 3 months. So what happens? There is an increase in ROI, right? So that's what we are talking about over here. What do you mean by empirical process? Pardon me?
Something that doesn't have any written proof.
Oh, okay. Anybody else?
So it doesn't matter of
Practical, that is a great thing.
Practical. Okay, anybody else?
Inspect and adapt.
Inspect and adapt, very good, that's wonderful. Anybody else?
Where we can see the results immediately.
Where we can see the returns immediately. So empirical process is decisions are made on observation and experimentation. So what are we talking? Basically it relies on three main factors: transparency, inspection and adaptation. So what do we mean by transparency? Anyone of you?
The end user or the one who has given a project owner is going to be part of the sprint cycle. If you know that progress is not compatible with the waterfall model, then you are going to do the delivery, the phase delivery customer. But here, every sprint is what we have this a person over here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So transparency allows all facets of any Scrum process to be observed by anyone. Like I said, all the project stakeholders have the control over it. Like they know where they are heading to. With a one look at the task board, they know where they are heading to. So easy and transparent flow of information throughout the organization. So inspection, what do we mean by inspection? Anybody? What do we mean by inspection? So inspection is basically done through your Scrum board, burn down charts, feedback from customers, prioritizing your backlog items, release planning, so validating the sprint process. So what is adoption? Anybody?
Adopting the lesson learned in the next.
Wonderful. So adoption happens when Scrum team and stakeholders learn from transparency and inspection. So Scrum framework, what do we have in Scrum framework? We have three main roles, everybody knows about it. It's a product owner, Scrum master and the development team. Sorry, there is a typo error there. It's, actually. And then you have the Scrum ceremonies. You have sprint planning and daily Scrum, sprint review and retrospective. Then you have the artifacts, product backlog, sprint backlog, burn down charts, which we'll be discussing in detail in the coming up slides. So how many of you are well acquainted with all these rules? Good. So what does a product owner do? You all know, right? He's like prioritizing the backlog items, getting feedback from the customer. So what is the role of a Scrum Master? Absolutely, he's a facilitator. What else does he do?
So in many organizations, the customer itself plays the role of product owner.
Will customer play the role of a product owner? Is that what you are asking?
Yeah. In certain projects,
No, he's saying, he's not asking, he's
Oh,
saying.
he's saying, okay, okay. So what does the product owner do? What is the responsibilities of a product owner?
So the requirements, basically he will have the entire set of requirements end to end and he will convey it to the team.
Wonderful. So
Prioritization, which was
absolutely,
required to be first delivered.
And also setting the vision.
absolutely, vision and prioritization. He projects the vision to the Scrum team. This is the vision. This is the goal. This is what we need to achieve by when. So he projects the vision to the team. What needs to be done. So what else does a product owner do? What is he responsible for mainly? Management of stakeholder management. Absolutely right. Anything else?
To decide the
Interfacing with the client. That's absolutely right. Anything else?
he is the person deciding what need to be in the product backlog.
Yes, he prioritizes the product backlog. What is of higher priority?
Business results.
Pardon me?
Business results.
Business results. Absolutely good.
Accept the product.
Pardon me?
Product accepted. Or
Oh yeah, that's right.
ROI.
ROI, absolutely right. He is totally responsible for the ROI. What else? Who defines the acceptance criteria?
definition of done.
Absolutely,
It's
definition.
affordable for the project, complete project.
Absolutely, is affordable for the complete project. Now, what role does this development team play? Deliveries, absolutely right. Who said that? Wonderful, wonderful. So let's move on. So there are 4 Scrum ceremonies. Sprint planning. So when does sprint planning happen? Absolutely, it's in the initial stage. The first meeting is the sprint planning meeting. So what happens in the sprint planning meeting?
Sprint backlog.
Yeah, backlogs. Absolutely. So what else happens? Who attends the sprint planning meeting?
Products owner, Scrum Master, and the team.
Wonderful. So then daily scrum. Daily scrum is time boxed for 15 minutes. And who attends the daily scrum?
Scrum Master, developer.
It is mandatory for the scrum master to attend the daily scrum?
Yes.
Yes? Is it mandatory for the product owner to attend the daily scrum?
He may join.
He may join. Okay. So who is mandatory for the daily scrum? Team is mandatory. So what happens in daily scrum?
Actually, they'll be discussing on the issues
Okay.
and then what's the plan for the day.
What happened yesterday, what is yesterday, what is to be done today, what tomorrow.
What are the impediments?
What are the
Absolutely. What did we do yesterday? What are we doing today? And what are the impediments? That is, only these 3 questions are need to be answered in daily scrum. And what happens in sprint review?
So the product is
After releasing the particular sprint, when we complete that sprint with the product owner or
Oh,
And need to be demo to the customer.
Review and accept this.
wonderful. Yeah, absolutely fine. You were talking about demo?
Giving a demo of a prototype to the customer.
Absolutely. So sprint review is more like it happens at the end of daily scrum. It's more or like a demo session to the customers where they clarify their question and answers that customer has got about the product that has been run. So what about sprint retros or retrospectives?
it's a lesson
Well,
learned.
well,
And what are the challenges they face in the previous sprint? They would like to
Yes,
overcome those.
Absolutely.
What they want to start doing, stop doing, and continue in the coming.
Exactly. What has to be start? That will be discussing in the coming up slides. Yes? Can somebody give her a mic? I'm not able to hear her.
I'm saying risk also we have to mention risk.
Yes, absolutely. Risk is a part of it. I agree to that. So when you talk about retros, we are talking about what needs to be, what we have been doing that has to be continued doing, and what we did wrong that we should stop further from doing, and what are the improvements that needs to be done that we can further do. So there are only 3 things: what went right, what went wrong, and what improvements has to be made in sprint retros. So Scrum artifacts, we have product backlogs. We all know what product backlogs are. It basically talks about functionalities or defects or requirements. Here in Scrum, we call it as user stories. And then you have the sprint backlog. You have the user story task, what has to be done in day 1, day 2, day 3. Then you have the burn-down charts. So how much percentage of task needs to be completed? Actual versus planned. So Scrum artifacts, like we stated before, work in progress is made highly visible and transparent through this. You have the task board, which is highly visible to all the stakeholders of the project. So one look at it, they know where we are heading to, what has been done, what needs to be done, and who has been doing it. So that's what we are talking about. What is a product backlog? It's a list of your user stories or defects or functionalities. Then you have the sprint backlog of tasks, higher priority tasks, and hours remaining for each of the tasks. Then you have the burn down charts, amount of hours left to complete a particular work. Then who updates the task board? Team updates the task board. So let's move on to the. So like we have already discussed this Scrum process when we were discussing about the different roles of a Scrum Master or a product owner and the development team. So that is precisely explained over in here in the basic format in the as a Scrum process. So excuse me. So what does a product owner do? Who said he gets the inputs from stakeholder management? Somebody was mentioning it. You? Okay. So what does a product owner do? He gets input from users, customers, team, and other stakeholders. And then he comes up with the product backlog. He prioritizes the items in the product backlog. What does the development team do? What does it do? It works on the prioritized product backlog, right? And then it comes with the approach to get it on with a potential shippable product increment. So what is this daily scrum meeting? It happens for 15 minutes at the same place, at the same time. Anybody had problems with these daily stand-ups in your organizations?
Sometimes it goes too long. Sometimes overruns.
Overruns, why?
Because the meeting turns into a problem resolving meeting. Instead of the updates, one of the team members mentions an issue, and then the other team member wants to know more about the issue.
Okay.
And then they have their own inputs and they want to try and fix it then and there.
Oh, okay. So who helps in removing the impediments? How does he do it?
Engaging the right person.
He does it in an informal way after the daily scrum, right? So then you have the sprint review, which is like you said, I didn't get your name. Pardon? Sundar. Like Sundar said, it's a demo session to the customer about what has been done, and that any doubts or question and answers are clarified then and there. And then at the end of it, you have the sprint retro. So what happens in sprint retro is what went right and what went wrong, and what is to be, what are the improvements that needs to be done. This is just in a nutshell about the scrum process. And about the product backlog refinement will come in the coming slides. So like we discussed, what the product owner is responsible for the, you said right, stakeholder management, ROI and backlog grooming, creation of user stories, acceptance criteria. What is meant by definition of that? Anyone?
Acceptance criteria.
Yeah, absolutely acceptable criteria. So he's also responsible for the definition of time. So Scrum Master. Scrum Master is basically a facilitator, absolutely. So he's like a servant leader. He comes up with coaching and guiding the team on Scrum principles, facilitates team meetings, and he removes the impediments after the daily scrums in an informal way, works with the product owner to make everything good with the product backlog for the next sprint. So protects the team from external influence. Many a time what happens, actually in many of my projects, while I was working long time ago, like a product owner's role, when you commit on too many things, you lose what you are doing at the present. Like you don't know where you are heading to. Many a times you behave like you turn into a juggler actually, and you don't know where you are heading to. So many times it has happened with me. So basically, Scrum Master helps not to commit more than what you can do in that particular sprint. And Scrum Master can be a former project manager or a team lead. That is basically the role they are talking about. So why do they say Scrum Master has control over the process? Why Scrum Master? Why not product owner? Why not Scrum team or the development team? Why this? Why they say he has control over the process? Anyone?
And the control is very small team.
Okay.
We know each and every one.
Okay.
One is around 10
7 plus or minus 7. So absolutely. So he knows he has complete control over the team. He helps the team not to commit more than what they can deliver. He facilitates team meetings, and he helps the product owner. So he helps the Scrum team. So in removing the impediments, so it basically acts as a central source. Sorry. So team, what does the team do? Scrum team. It maintains the team process. So it takes accountability of the PBIs for that particular sprint. And who updates the task board? It's again the Scrum team, right? It updates the task board to the grooming process. So what is the big benefit of this Scrum team? It's self-organizing. Like Kanban, if you talk about that, it has got specialized teams. They have titles. Here they have like, sorry, there they don't have titles, sorry. Here they have 3 titles, like product owner and Scrum Master and development team. So they know what they expect. They come with expertise. They know how they have to, who has to work on what. Somebody need not be monitoring them all the time, telling them what to do. So that's a big advantage and saves a lot of time. So it's cross-functional and self-organizing.
So PBI is product backlog impediments.
Items.
Product backlog.
Items. PBI is product backlog items. So sprint grooming. So what do we understand by sprint grooming? Or PBL? Has somebody can tell me what do you understand by PBL?
So what is doable in that particular sprint?
Pardon me?
What is
Doable in that particular sprint. Okay.
Look at the items in backlog and see if they are accurate enough. Yes, things do change from time to time. Keep the items more up to date and whether they can be accepted for the next week.
Absolutely. So what happens? The product owner leads who leads the product backlog refinement meeting? The product owner. And the Scrum Master facilitates the session. It is a continuous process, usually done in mid-sprint. So which the product backlog, like you said, the product backlog items are revised and reviewed based on high priorities. What is of low priority, what is of higher priority, resulting in clarity of requirements. For the teams, writing stories, this is just an example like what happens there. Writing stories, defining subtasks, defining acceptance criteria, estimating tasks and checking again the estimation of them. Scrum ceremonies, we have discussed about this before. This is the first meeting that happens in Scrum. So each sprint begins with a sprint planning meeting. And who attends it? It's the product owner, Scrum Master, Scrum team, and outside stakeholders attend it by invitation. So where tasks are specified from the broader product backlog. Higher priority tasks are specific product backlog based on the priority. And committed to be delivered in that particular sprint goal. So sprint goal, how much? Sprint is, what is the time box for sprints? 2 to 4 weeks, it's about a month. So if somebody is preparing for a certified Scrum Master, this is one of the questions that they can expect in the exam. So about the time box, it's about a month, 1 calendar month. But usually in reality, in my organization, it goes like 2 weeks. So what is the sprint planning part 1 and part 2? Has anybody come across this? Can somebody explain? So part 1 is what has to be done and part 2 is how it has to be done. That's basically the part 1 and part 2, but majority mostly go by the part 1. For part 1, the participants are product owner team, Scrum Master, and part 2 or the Scrum Master and product owner is optional in the part 2 of the sprint planning meeting.
Sprint planning meeting is also time box.
Yes. So what is the time box for sprint planning meeting? Anybody?
Depends upon the sprint duration.
Depends upon the sprint duration. So Scrum ceremonies, we have daily stand-ups. Like we discussed, daily stand-ups, Scrum meetings are done at the same time. Why is it done at the same time, same location? Exactly, because for more consistency, we know, okay, we have to meet up this location. And but many a times it has been challenged. It has been a big challenge, like in larger teams, like you were saying, these daily stand-ups. Sometimes in some organizations, they have come to us saying like, it goes on, the 15-minute meeting goes on for 45 minutes.
Actually, if you are not following the 3 things which you are supposed to be, if you are discussing more and more, then it gets done.
Absolutely.
So you need to be a specific, and here the Scrum Master comes into the picture. I only want to hear this. If the people start telling all these stories, then it goes.
Yeah, there'll be no limit to it unless there is a, like, absolutely rightly stated. The Scrum Master has to take control over the entire process in the daily stand-up. So if they don't know what the discussion is about, if they are discussing all what is potential and what is non-potential, then it can go to 45, even 1 hour, which is not healthy. The daily stand-up should be maintained for 15 minutes and the team should be kept short. So that is one of the best practices to follow in Scrum. So as rightly stated, I didn't get his name. So only 3 things need to be addressed. What has been done yesterday, what are we doing today, and what are the impediments. And many a times it so happened that people think daily Scrum as a status update meeting. Many a times. Actually, I was surprised in one of the, I was trying to get my Scrum Master certification in one of the training institutes. They were talking about status, daily Scrum as status update. It is not a status update meeting. We have to be very clear. It is a meeting just that talks about the WIP. What is the work that we have done till today? What have we achieved yesterday? And basically the impediments. How are we going to address the impediments? That is what is the discussion in the daily scrums. It is not a status update meeting. So, and the Scrum Master helps in removing the impediments in an informal way after the daily scrum. So sprint planning, so potentially shippable product increment. So what happens at the end of sprint? Yes. Can you elaborate on that?
You will have one minimum viable product that can go out.
Absolutely. So at the end of each sprint, the team aims at delivering a potentially shippable product increment, which means the definition of that. Sprint review meetings. So sprint review meetings are conducted at the end of sprint to evaluate the result of the sprint. So same thing. Okay, Ravi, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
Vijay, right? Sundar. Like Sundar stated, it's nothing but a demo session to the customer. What has happened in that particular sprint? And if the customer has got any clarification, it's clarified then and there. Excuse me. Later we'll be discussing about the challenges of reviews. Many a time I come across people saying that sprint reviews or sprint reviews important, but I feel it's really important and plays a major role in project success. No, it has to go to previous sprint review. Okay, I think I got the other slide. I had 2-3 slides. So because my laptop wasn't working compatible with that, we have one more slide where we were talking about the sprint retros. After this review, at the end of review, you have sprint retrospectives. Many a time people find it a waste. They say, why retros? We don't need it. We are just wasting our time. How many people think sprint retros are waste? How many people think that it's beneficial? Well, really? So can you tell me why?
Process. See, what went right and what went wrong and what are improvements to be made in the subsequent sprint.
Okay.
So in order to access this sprint transport, not only for the facilities of Scrum Master process, also the team has to realize that what went wrong and what happened.
Absolutely.
Basically, it's to do the process, not to do any product. It's purely based on the process, which you need to focus on.
Absolutely. How about you?
To optimize the process.
Okay.
Anybody? Lessons learned helps us to make a positive progress.
Wonderful, wonderful. And anybody else?
So all the stakeholders should know. That's the slide. All the stakeholders will know, like, okay, what risk we have, what went wrong, what is next we should do it. So that's the key point we have to review and rework on that.
Absolutely. So what went wrong and what has to be stopped from further doing it?
All the risk and
if you look at the artifacts, one is the burn down chart, and there is one is the velocity. How many story point you are delivering?
Absolutely, total number of
And
estimated items.
this helps you when you are applying all those correction and the future is sprint. This will improve the velocity of the run.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely, one of the most important factors to note. So, what else? Okay. Actually, this is I had, like I said, another PowerPoint, and this is the other one. So we were told the last would be your retrospectives, and then you have the challenges. So what is the major challenge? Like in my projects, if I have to correlate with the experience that I have, I would relate it to distributed teams. Co-location, absolutely right. So that was one of the major challenges for us, in getting the communication across and to know the work in progress. So could you just tell me what you came across with share?
So most of the cases now, the teams maybe from different groups within the organization. You may have some kind of testers from different teams and the actual developer. It's not always possible to get everyone to your project work for you now exclusive or something that they may come on demand. And what happens, they may work from some other location. The development team, the actual real test team may be in some other location. Let's add 15 minutes of meeting and now it's not possible at all because it will go for long and then there will be lots of back and forth communication. That is one of the killers for you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Actually, especially when the team works onshore as well as offshore.
Okay.
Onshore, there may be some architects or resources working onshore.
Okay.
And the offshore team works in India. So we are time zone differences. So onshore guys just pass around the rest to anything of all of them, most of them.
Okay.
Not to overlap this, but it has to be happening.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we had some problems offsite, onshore engagement models, co-location. So how do we handle this problem of distributed teams?
Tools like IBM Jazz and
Okay. What other methods could be more effective in handling it? Anybody?
Everybody's communication is, but even with virtual teams, the technologies that are around the world, you still have a scrum from wherever they are, whichever location they are, which is
Okay.
logically we have to have. So even though the teams are distributed, we need to group them so that they can work on them.
Absolutely. So what if it doesn't happen face to face? What are the other methods? Suppose, like he said, on-site offshore model, it cannot be face to face. So what are the best solution to that?
Video conferencing, communication tools, conferences. Collaboration tools. The market, for example, Slack,
Video conferences. So you should have high resolution video conferences, right? So indirect communications are many a times misleading. People think, okay, I'm going to send an email. Why talk over the phone? Email communications are 98%. I don't know about your experience, but they are not accurate. As accurate as a face-to-face communication. When you are face-to-face, there is more clarity. I didn't get your name. Did you face any challenges in distributed teams? I didn't get your name, sir. Yeah. Pardon me? Muthuvel, have you come across such challenges? Oh, okay. I could not hear it actually. Okay.
we do video conferencing.
Okay.
Where we said sometimes they don't.
Oh, okay.
Also, that is part of the
Okay.
Common common rules and regulations.
Oh, that's good. So many times, like the best way to handle this situation is having a high resolution video conferencing tools. Like somebody said, use it tools. So that's one of the best methods to handle. Face-to-face communication is always good, but it doesn't all the time happen with large complex projects. So what could be the other challenge in large complex projects?
What I feel my experience is, particularly when you are handling a complex project, resources are located not at the same location.
Sorry, just one minute. I'll just get the mic to you.
One
Sorry,
of the,
just 1 second. Just get the mic to you. Thank you.
If you look at the Agile manifesto,
Wow.
it has a 4 values and 13 principles. One of the value text talks about the project is to be built around the motivated people,
Absolutely.
and you have to provide the right environment, and you have to trust. Selection of the right team is very important. And when you work in an organization where people are across the location, my experience is people are not motivated, people are not. Selection of the right people is not there.
Okay.
And you always, the failure in the Agile is because of, it is a people oriented. Waterfall is a process oriented.
Absolutely.
And you fail in, particularly in the because of the right people are not. You can manage all the things if all the people are motivated. You can meet all the challenges. But everyone feel okay, this is not there, that is not there. People has to work together. Yes, I have to meet all the ingredients and want to achieve. That is the kind of essence, the attitude. If you have with the people, you will always succeed. That is the main thing which I have found, that is people are, someone in the sitting in the Denmark, they are telling that they have a different concept about that they don't want to feel that Agile is the best process. Here, management and top management is pushing, you have to go through the method. So the concept, the attitude, those kind of things are required to be synchronized to meet all of them.
Absolutely. So absolutely right. So for a team to function in an effective way towards a project success is to have trust. They should have trust within themselves. They should be motivated. Even one entity in the team is lacking motivation, is lacking communication, the project will be a fiasco. It's a failure. So absolutely right. It's a very major challenge in on-site offshore model.
Rather than motivation, I think we should depend on passion, finding passion. Because motivation is something you have to keep doing every month. Only then they stay motivated. So that's why one of the hiring mandate we should follow is something like hire the passion, train the talent.
Absolutely. I mean, there is a sync between what you said and what he said.
Also, whom you are reporting to. Also, your previously another thing. Okay, that is also, if someone is reporting to someone else, my people manager is different, and his people manager and these people are working together, and his responsibility is attached with his manager, and my responsibility attached. So how I can? So these are the certain challenges we will be facing.
Absolutely. So there should be a clarity of roles, and there should be a trust among the team, and right kind of people. That's absolute right word to use. If we don't have the right kind of people for doing the right kind of work, it will not be delivered at the right time. So what you say is absolutely right. And second thing is, when you select a team, when you form a team, when you select the team members or a resource, the resource should have the passion for the job. Only then only then there will be success. Somebody working for any other factor other than passion, the work will not be 100% complete. I am doing the work, excuse me, I am doing the work because I need a salary appraisal. I am doing the work out of my personal situation or a professional situation. I might come up to 89% of productivity, I might come up to 76% of productivity. So what happens in 100% productivity when there will be an increase in ROI? So everything is people oriented. Any projects you take, it can be your travel domain, it can be your banking domain, anything, any project, whether healthcare or whether travel or whether your IT projects, everything is driven by people. And if you have the right set of people, yes, you can come to success. You can bring about success. And it is again right kind of people with the passion to do the work they are dedicated to do to lead to success. So what are the challenges? Has anybody come across change management as a big challenge in your projects? See, when you're talking about transformation projects, and nowadays, like everywhere you go, any banking sector or any healthcare sector, there's a lot of transformation happening. Like they're transforming from the waterfall methodology to the Scrum. And when you do a transformation from waterfall to Scrum, initially there is a setback. I'm so much used to following the waterfall. The Scrum term is something new to me. So, should I take it up? Okay, I know the benefits of Scrum. Some are active. Some will actively say, okay, I don't want it. And some will passively deny it. There is two types of denial. One is active denial and one is passive denial. Does anybody know about this? Active denial is openly denying it. Saying I'm used to this methodology, I've been doing it for 24 years, something new, I don't know, the project cost will get affected, the process will get affected, the customers will be unhappy. So this is active denial. And what is passive denial?
What we do with the supervisors and boss.
See, no comments on this. So passive denial is indirectly saying that I don't want to, I'm not comfortable with that. So when Scrum comes with, unless you get used. So there was a time when Blender was not used, the mixer I mean. It was not used. So when it came new to the market, people were talking about the electricity consumption and all that. But once people got used to it, nowadays they are quite used to blenders. Like every home has got a blender. So similarly, anything new in the market, anything new process or new, people get time to get used to it. So everything speaks about Scrum, everybody speaks about Agile. So what about the changes? How is the changes affecting the Scrum process? Can anybody tell me? What happens in the, who is here? Vijay. Oh, you are sitting there. Vijay, you said you were working on a transformation project, right?
Yes.
So on par with the change management in the transformation project, what are the hurdles you have faced?
I think the one you touched upon earlier, acceptance was the main thing. There's also a cultural problem that we had because most of our project managers, they found that they didn't have a role anymore to play when we adopted Scrum. So because they thought product owner is another role, so they didn't have a role to play. Culturally, I think the entire team was shocked because of this new system.
Wow.
So they were resisting and rebelling at various opportunities.
You said cultural differences was affecting the project?
There was a senior management buy-in, so we implemented Agile. So we have to implement Agile in phases, so we couldn't just suddenly throw it into the organization. So we had to find a project where we could start off with, which we did. And then slowly there was acceptance. But even that first project when we started, it was difficult to take off because there were a lot of team members who were not sure about the process. They were questioning why this should be done and why this can't work in the older project management methodology like waterfall. And they were comfortable with what was going on. So for them, change is unnecessary. It was not required for them because they were asking what was the need for what's the drive behind this change. So those are the things I could think of.
So how did you bring it on to? What was the solution?
Like you said, I think time is of the biggest essence here because things don't change overnight. It does take time, and by doing a very small project, which was literally a very, very tiny pilot project, then we did demos of the entire structure to the rest of the teams. And then, slowly after the delivery was happening and the artifacts hit production, and then people were saying, okay, this is a efficient way of doing. 2 weeks is a good, turnaround time. And I think the biggest thing for us was the feedback loops from the stakeholders plus the people who were actually writing the acceptance criteria. They were able to quickly turn around and say, yeah, this works, this doesn't work, can you change this, you know, can we make these kind of amendments? Those were not coming to us initially during the waterfall times because there was a dedicated testing phase, whereas now it's all in the midst, everybody's, you know, aware of everything. And all these radiators that we have everywhere, people are, you know, it's a transparent system, people, you know, they could see the progress.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, give me a big hand, please. That's good.
Sorry, not stealing your thunder.
No, not at all. So it really is a big challenge. So implementing the Scrum into organizations which have been following the old waterfall model for a long time. I don't know if time is a constraint. Well, so do we have some more questions?
Yes.
Okay, so anybody else?
Various variations of agile methodology. Scrum is only one of them. You have FTE, you have team programming. So how do you compare and contrast the various agile methodologies?
So it differs. Like if you ask me, there are a lot of subsets like of agile, like you said, there's still extreme programming. Then you have Scrum. So everything has got its own advantage. If you compare each one of that, everything has got its own advantages. And I feel sometimes, like personal feeling, I don't know about all of you, how many of you feel. So collaboratively, it depends on the size of the project and the type of the project you are involved in. What kind of methodology would be best fitted? I wouldn't say Scrum will fit for all. How many of you agree? So I wouldn't say Scrum will fit for all. It depends on project to project, the type of projects, size of the projects. We can have a discussion. You all can take down my email ID. 2 of the slides are missing actually, so I don't know. Like I'm not able to go. Comes to the end of it. So it's my first name at post.com. So if you want to have a discussion, I have regular discussions. Like we have group of Agile group where we do regular discussions. Like you can bring up your concerns, and if your organization need any help, also we can pitch in and come on to that. So also, what is the other major setback? What could be the other major challenge?
Ma'am, I have a question. So this is about scaling up agile teams. So each team has an average of 10 members. That's it.
Yeah, 7 plus or minus 7,
Yeah.
so about 9 or 10.
10. So it is a project that involves 300 resources. So that the minimum of 30 teams. So what layers are needed above the teams to manage?
Okay, in larger projects like your this was the slide sprint retrospective. Now he's coming on to that. Yes, absolutely. Excuse me, everyone. Are you in sync with me? Your name again?
Gilbert.
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 Gilbert. Okay, Gilbert has a question here, and it's very interesting actually. What he says is the Scrum teams are plus or minus 7 or 10 max. And he says for larger projects where there are like 300 members involved, what would be the best solution to handle it? Now, I want one of you or anybody who can answer this, and then I will come up with my solution. Yeah. Absolutely. Scrum of Scrums. What happens? Can you elaborate with it?
It can be group. There also we can have maximum of 11 scrums team. Anyway, we can
Hello.
Absolutely.
Teams can be divided into groups, and then at the end of the day, each and every group's Scrum Master can get together and have a Scrum meetings along with the daily Scrum.
Absolutely. Scrum of Scrums where you can have further divisions into large. Scrum does not support large teams at all. When you talk about Scrum framework, you are talking about small teams, which is manageable. That is what is a big advantage of Scrum. They are self-organizing, cross-functional small teams that they manage among themselves. So when you are talking about 300 people, we are off to Scrum of Scrums. We divide them into small teams, which is manageable.
So the Scrum Masters become team members in the next level of Scrum.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And same happens to product owner, because this one product owner cannot decide on.
No. There might be a lot of product owners. So when you are talking about large teams, it's not just confining to one Scrum Master. Cannot handle a team of 300 people now. or one product owner cannot be accountable for 300 people? No. There might be a lot of product owners, lot of, so it depends. Anything else? Can you give them?
I think I'm loud enough. Okay, the query here is, see, we are talking about changes is easily acceptable in Scrum, right? The query here is, let us assume after 20 or 30 sprints are gone, okay, now the business is coming with a huge change.
Okay.
That means there is a high possibility that design also could be changed, need to be changed.
Okay.
So the thing is that the effort what the team is going to put is, I believe it's going to be similar like your waterfall.
So you are saying
now,
after
apart from the documentation perspective, certainly the team has to put lot of effort to change the whole design.
Okay.
Right? So how we are saying that Scrum is very much adaptable to change.
Okay.
Okay, that's the first thing. Then we are talking about documentation, minimum documentation.
Okay.
That minimum is everything. Okay? Because when I hand over this application or this product to the support, I need a complete set of documentation.
Okay.
Right? Which has to be created and handed over. Or forget whether to the support team or to the whatever it is. Okay? If somebody else is coming on board, somebody is resource acquisition, right? Very classic example. The resource goes, someone comes in, right? If there is not sufficient documentation available, how we are going to transition? Okay, the team, the person who is coming in might not be aware of what are the nuances of the project, right? Right? So that is the other challenge. How we are handling it. Because I believe that whatever I have seen is, we are only talking, fortunately or unfortunately, the team size is only 6 or 7 people. Okay, we bring a new person, the team is able to help each other. But in a real time scenario, if I am going to go and talk about theoretically, how we are handling this.
Okay, this question I'm putting to you. I didn't get your name.
I am Ravi.
Ravi says like after 40 sprints, the customer is coming up with a, right Ravi?
Yes.
The customer is coming up with a huge change. So how will the organization handle the change? Anyone of you? Yes.
Every change customer has to take. At the end of the day, any project is with respect to money. Okay? Right? So if customer comes with a change, the Scrum team just doesn't accept it. Right? So all the analysis and planning has to be how much this change is going to be done.
How many times we have pushed back to the business saying that I cannot accept this change? Because at the end of the day, the business is going to try the project, right? At the end of the day, I can go and tell, okay, the product, the primary advantage of going for Scrum is I can push the product to the market at the shortest span of time, right? If the product has become obsolete, okay, the business is going to come to me and say that, okay, I want to change the product. Okay? How many times we can stand up and say to the business, no, I can't accept. It's not possible. Because at the end of the day, he is a feeding master. Right? He is going to feed us. So how many times you can go and tell the business, hey, you know what? I cannot accommodate this change in the current design, but I have to tweak the design. That's what we do. Okay? We can talk from here anything, but once we have our office desk, we will say that, hey, I have to accommodate this. Somehow or other, we are going to tell our Scrum team, stretch. This is happening. Let us be very honest. We are asking the team to stretch. We are not talking about 6 hours of Scrum, only 6 hours the team has to work. How many times the team has worked on for 6 hours? First 7-8 days your team is going to stretch. After that they are going to hand it over to their testing team. Testing team is going to stretch. This is happening. Let us be very honest. Okay? So the change, when we say Scrum is very easy to accommodate change. I believe at the ground it's a bit.
One of the
Sprint review meeting is not happening properly. So otherwise we need to bring in the required stakeholders. See, even after 40, the total product is going to go waste. Then it is something totally wrong. The entire thing is wrong. The structure is wrong.
So you are saying the sprint retros are not happening as per plan.
Excuse me,
Excuse me.
Sprint review was not effective.
Sprint review was not effective. Okay.
Was effective, and that customer was never involved in any of the sprint review.
No, sir, I deny that, sir. Sir, that's not the point here. See, the customer might be involved from day one. The customer might be involved from day one. After sprint 20 or 30, there is a change.
Okay, how many people agree that Sprint Retro is responsible for these scenarios?
Excuse me. One conversation, please. One comment regarding the changes. One of the frameworks which you can look at the design, we are welcoming the change. Welcoming the change. And we have a product owner. Product owner decide what he is looking for. What are the kind of changes?
Absolutely.
If you look at the waterfall method and the Scrum, in my organization or everywhere, the Scrum there is no time limit. Okay, it goes in a time and material. When it goes into the waterfall method, we have a defined start and finish. Because here the things are evolving. Market is dynamic.
Yes.
And you have to change. If you have not adopted change, then that is a failure. So, and another thing, one is the customer satisfaction is the highest priority.
One of the principles of
Highest priority.
Manifesto.
And product owner decide what he is looking for. He want a change, implement the change. The Scrum team is okay. He has to accept all the changes which is coming because it is demand of the situation, which is the market dynamics is asking you to go ahead. In waterfall, we have a method. I am not going to accept. These are the changes. I am going for these are the investment I have to make. This many, this much of. Because here the customer itself is coming, I want a change. And then you have to accept it. That is the main difference between the two.
Yes, absolutely right. So coming back to what you said, after 40 sprints, if there is a huge change coming up from the customer, how my organization is going to handle it, right? This was your question. The best way to handle this, like many have spoken about sprint reviews, many spoke about retros, and you are also like all are right in their own way. So I accept it, and what you said was also true. When it is like, when you are talking about Scrum, it is time boxed. So nothing is allowed beyond the time. So you cannot have 45 minutes for a daily stand-up. And a sprint cannot go beyond 4 weeks, 1 calendar month. So every ceremony in the spring is, Scrum is time boxed. So when you are talking about handling the changes, any organization, small to large, to handle this kind of ambiguous situation, they need to have a definite change management process. If they do not have a definite change management process, the scenario like what you stated will be a big chaos, like they won't be able to handle it. Such scenarios will arise. Till the projects are small, manageable, it's easy. But when you are talking about an on-site offshore model with 300, 400 members involved, these scenarios are very common. The best way to handle this scenario is for the management, is for the organization to set up a change management process. What if the question of what if arises? What if these many changes come? What happens with the product owner? We have this many PBIs, right? Product backlog items, it can be many. So what the product owner, he cannot accept all the functionalities coming in. It will be huge. He'll be lost. So what he has to do as a product owner? What does the product owner do? He prioritizes. He says these user stories are high priority ones. These are lower priority ones. He takes the higher priority ones. Similarly, for change management process too, we need to have a definite process set by the organization in the initial stages itself, and all the projects internal to the organization need to go by that. Then we will not come into an ambiguous situation like you are facing here. Okay, I have 40 sprints, customers are coming in. There will be a pressure. There will be a pressure from the senior management. And when there is a pressure from the senior management, when there is a pressure from the customer, what is lost? Everything is lost. Trust is lost. The team productivity falls low. Team loses the motivation. So like you said, everything is lost. So basis of handling, we can have a big discussion. I have an agile team where we meet up like every other week or once a month. You can also join us probably take down my email, I'll send you the updates. You can join us and probably we can have a discussion on that. If you have a problem, we can give you solutions with your, you can coordinate with your own.
Better salesperson.
Pardon me?
Better salesperson to sell the changes back.
I have a quick question. So when we adapt agile or Scrum methodology, does it depend on the preferred pricing with the client? Is it determined by the pricing model? That's the question.
I don't think so.
Do the state of yes.
Pardon me? Okay, who's going to answer this? She's got a question. I want one of you to answer this.
It's a table.
Okay. Okay, does it answer it? Okay, let's move on. Yes?
That will be the last question. Last question.
Actually, the Scrum team, we are always saying about the development team is self-organized. They are expertise. Then the challenge is how to include the freshers in the team. This is one first question actually. Second question, for the maintenance project actually, it is very difficult to implement Scrum at all. Kanban we are saying actually, but Kanban is also sometimes it is not at all useful. So in that area, still waterfall model is, for example, creating a big file. It can't be splitted and it can't be delivered small piece by piece actually. So these two questions.
I think I have a perspective.
Can you just pass it on because I'm not able to hear it.
I just got a perspective out of what the answer is. If pricing were to be P&M in Scrum, then it doesn't really matter how many sprints you have finished until the business comes to change, right? How does it matter? You've been paid for it. So if it were a fixed price, then you have to worry that you lost some effort in doing something without having paid for it. So here, ultimately, ultimately, it's what you get at the end.
Can you hand over the mic to him so that everyone can hear?
What you are asking is that being a T&M project, that being a T&M project, why we need to worry about the product life cycle and all this? Perfect. But the very end, we are saying from agile methodology can accept changes very easily. That's the bone of contention, right? We're not talking about what is the time period now. So when we talk about agile, we are saying, hey, you can accept changes immediately. But what I'm saying is after 40 sprints, the customer is coming and saying, okay, I need a big change in the product. Then the effort what you are going to put to bring it to the desired state, like changing your design, documents, everything, right? All this, that's what I'm referring to. I'm not saying.
But what do we count as an effort lost or, an effort that's gone into the
We can take it offline. The last
I think this question is not answered yet.
Shall we let Ms. Srividya answer? I know it's great for us to argue and debate, it's great, I really appreciate that. But because we have a chief guest, we need to let Ms. Srividya answer.
Okay, let me do this. I want to take up with time being a constraint. I really would like to take up all the questions, but like I said, time being a constraint. You have my email ID. I'm sorry. You have my email ID. These are some reference books. Like I would like you to note down some good books and references that you can come across. I would like you to take my email ID and send me the questions so that we can connect. Like I said, we have agile teams or discussion teams going on like every other week. So I would welcome all of you to join my team, join the team where we discuss on all the project challenges. And so you can just send across the questions to my email and I'll get in touch with you. And if your organization needs any help, you can pitch in. So with this, I'm wrapping up the session. And these are some of the references that you can refer to if anybody has got any queries regarding Scrum. There is a scrumalliance.com, mountaingoatsoftware.com, and there is a very good book written by Pete Deemer, who was ex-CEO of Yahoo. He has started a Good Agile. His organization is Good Agile. He has written a book, Scrum Primer, that I have not included in this. And I think that is a free download of the book. You can get onto that. That explains everything in detail. So about like distributor teams and interactions. So and these are some of the other books. The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time by Jeff and Essential Scrum by Kenneth S. Newman. So these are some good books, and also we have some other links that I can send to you. So with this, I'm wrapping up today's session.